welcome to episode 2. This episode is about relationships, potential struggles, and how I've dealt with those struggles throughout my life. I think the best way to start this would be, I'm going to preface this with a Bible verse that means a lot to me. I think I mentioned it in the last episode a little bit, and that would be Matthew 5:33. I'm going to read it from the NIV. It is, "Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made." I sort of outlined what that means to me there, but I've definitely felt like it's had another impact within the relationships that I've got, meaning my wife and my children firstly and foremost. That's pretty solid there. And then also looking back through life, if I had the ability to know Jesus and the Bible like I am learning now, it probably would have played a much more important role. It would have helped me for sure. So it's sort of hard to talk about this stuff because I don't know whether my life was even that different to others, or whether the way that I feel about things is that just how everybody feels and we're supposed to just ignore the fact that it's not just you feeling that way. I don't know how to put it into words. That probably doesn't even make sense, but we'll leave it in. I'm trying to do these videos as raw as I possibly can. I've got little dot points. That's it. I'm trying to make it so it comes... There's no script as such. But I guess I'll start with my early family relationships that I noticed. Essentially, I was raised by a single mother. My father wasn't in the picture until I was 10, and he died not long after meeting him. But throughout life, I've seen my mum struggle with relationships quite a fair bit. And I guess I never really seen how a relationship was supposed to be, whether that be with friends or partners. My mum has a couple of friends that she's been friends with for quite some time, basically her whole life, and we call them Auntie, Auntie Rachel. She's a great human, and she's always been there for my mum, which is good. But other friendships, I guess, have come in and out, and I sort of mimicked that. And people say it's like a ADHD thing or something, like someone being present in your life. They've got to be there for me to engage. And I think that's because that's what I seen my mum do. And there's no knock on my mum. She doesn't know any better, or whether like it was a negative impact on my life. But I guess that's just what I've seen. And then when it comes to relationships, like some of the longest relationships that my mum had, they were good, but I just, and my mum didn't have that sort of life where, like, if I look at my wife's life, like her parents were together and no matter what, they're together. So for her, when we were younger, I mean, I would break up with her for the weekend, or for, like, I would move towns. I would be in Whyalla and then I would move to Roxby Downs and just, like, I would just cut ties and not think anything of it, like it wouldn't hurt her, because I didn't realise that, like, people don't think the way that I do or did. Like, it would hurt me now. I wouldn't feel good about it now. But when I was younger, I just didn't have that foresight to think, like, that will hurt that girl. She's invested in you, and you're going to hurt her by doing this. So, even if I look back even further, when I was a kid, like, Christmases weren't ever, like, I never really looked forward to Christmas. Obviously presents were a thing, and my life wasn't terrible that Christmas was horrible or anything like that, but it would mean that the family would get together and there was always an argument or narkiness, like, and I would just see the stress that it put on my family, trying to be together, trying to be around each other. And I guess I have part of that in me now. Like, it's really hard for me to want to do things with everybody because I just see it as a stress, even before it's happened. Like, even before just the, hey, we're all going to come around, my brain goes into dread mode because I'm just like, what argument is going to happen, or what thing will happen that makes this whole interaction horrible. So I guess I hold on to that. And the family relations between even the couples in the relationships that I used to look up to, they all fell apart. Like, uncles and aunties that I thought would never break up did. And not in good ways, or in good ways, or, you know. So I never, when my wife and I got married, for some foolish reason, because I was like a silly atheist in some way, I had the celebrant remove all religious aspects from the vows, and I hate that. I hate that I did that. It almost feels like I need to redo my wedding, because I would do it so differently. It would still be with the same woman. I love my wife immensely. She's fantastic beyond belief, and people don't get to see it. I guess because we're so reserved and we have thought processes that most people don't, and we're kind of shut off. That's our doing, we like it, but we've also learnt to be that way. So I don't know where that went. I was just talking. So I guess if I go back to relationship stuff, me and my wife had a lot to learn, because we learned how to be adults together. We've been on and off since 14 and 15 years old. We're 31 and 33. So around 14, 15 we started dating. And I was pretty disgusting as a young lad. And I've learnt from what I did. But I wasn't the most faithful kid. And I know that's a lot to ask of a young fella, but also just be faithful. Like, if you take one thing away from this, is like, cheating doesn't get you anywhere, and treating women like they're disposable certainly isn't going to fulfill you further on in life. And then it'll hit you even harder when you have daughters, if you have daughters. Because I just think, like, man, if anybody does that to my daughter, what I did to my wife when we were younger, not that I was horrible, but I just silly acts like allowing alcohol to take control of who you are as a person. It would just crush me if my daughters were hurt from somebody's silly choices. And I understand that that's not everybody. Not everybody does that. And I don't know what made me that way. I'm glad I'm not like that now. I really am. And I'm hoping that, like my son, I can instill in him the values that I have now so that he doesn't take steps that I do. Like, I'm very, very certain that for me, I will never leave my wife. Divorce is not in the question. Like, that's not even an option. There is a multitude of things that I can do to fix whatever issues I may have or my wife may have. So hopefully he can see that and see how a relationship should be done, whilst also not making it absolutely miserable for the children to grow up in. Like, you cannot have a household of turmoil. I understand the damage that could do to a child, but that's why we are trying to mitigate the amount of toxic isn't the word, but like sort of trauma-based. I hate to use that because everybody's got trauma now, but that sort of yuck, they do that. I mean, I speak pretty vulgarly in my day-to-day life. I am not a good representation of a Christian. I swear terribly, and it's very hard for me to stop. But if my son and my daughters see me try to be better each and every day and apologise for the things that I've done wrong the day before or on that day, or I guess I'm trying to say they need to see me working on me and my wife working on her, and my wife and I working with each other, so that they can learn to do that with their partners. And in return, that is me figuring out how to handle family relations in a better way, because to some sense I lacked guidance. I still lack guidance, but I've turned to the internet and TikTok and Instagram, people that I admire and how they handle things and what they do is how I'm leading my life now. So I guess that's a positive. When we talk about relationships, we also have to touch base on friendships, because I think in a way, a lot of the ways that I treated my wife when we were younger, I also did to my friends. Like, my friends know that, the ones that I've had from primary school, they know that I will go on long stints without talking to them. And I'm not talking 6 months, I'm talking 3 years. No communication. And then just see them one day and be like, oh, hey man, how's it going? As if nothing ever happened. It's partly my fault, probably because I've always felt out of place like, I don't want to talk too much on it because it's not my story to tell, but I certainly know that my wife feels like she's the second best friend. And I think I have a bit of that. It's a good way to put it. And I'm not sure if that's how everybody feels. Or like, because I know my best friend for many, many years had another best friend. And it didn't bug me, but I just never, I don't know, like, it's not that it upset me or anything. I was just aware of it. I was aware that he's my best friend and his best friend is that guy who's also my friend. But yeah, second place or the second best friend, I don't know. I think there's, like, you talk about weddings. I speak to one person that was in my bride, like the groomsmen, like what in my bridal party. One guy, and that at best is sending memes on Instagram and hoping that he'll find it as funny as I do or as cool as I do. And we're sweet. Like, this is not a knock on my mate, and it never will be at all. The dude is a gem of a human, as were most of my mates. They're really good people. I was probably the lacking factor. I was a user when I was younger. I think I used to use, even not intentionally. I was always homeless or having an argument with mum and got kicked out or told that if I don't follow one certain rule that I wasn't allowed to be under the house, so I'd leave or something like that. And it wasn't like malicious or anything, but like, man, it affected me so poorly that I thought that was how you treated people. Like, yeah, like I lived in my friend's house for months. And this is a friend, his family took me in and fed me in. And as soon as I got good, like I stopped talking. I stopped communication. But I had to at the time because I was using drugs. I was drinking all the time and people were enabling me. And I had to be strong enough to walk away from everybody because I knew that they loved me, but they wouldn't stop me from doing the things that I was doing and treating people the way that I was treating them. They cared about me to the point that they would give me money and stuff because I would complain about being strung out or just silly stuff. I mean, that's what happens. It grabs hold of your drugs and addiction, and that's why I wanted the first video to be about my sobriety, because it's the most important factor. Like, it is the defining change in my life that changed my thought processes. Getting sober changed everything, and it changed my whole outlook on life. What I thought was cool or meant good for me just completely changed and shifted. And it changed my relationships. I used to be a much happier person, but I was never... No, that's not true. It was fake happiness. I was high all the time, right? Now I have real happiness derived from life, my family, my children, things that I like doing, running, lifting weights. Like, those things mean something to me, and I get happiness from them. So getting sober and then becoming a Christian has completely changed my whole outlook on how relationships are to be engaged with within your life. Like, friends aren't, this is going to sound so fucked up to say, but friends aren't what they can do for you when you need help. And people, so many people view it that way, myself included, for so long. It is not, I needed them at this point and they were there. I don't believe that's what friendship is. Friendship should be, I like that person, I like what they stand for, what they work towards. We can work towards that together. We can create businesses and companies and an outlook on life together, even if you have differing views on some things, but just an absolute understanding that that person is someone that you can rely on for communication. And what I was doing, and I think I see a lot of other people do, is like, what can that person do for me? I.e. money, parties, uses of, like, if your mate has a business or something like that, what can I get from that? Where I only go to my mate's car shop because he gives me a discount. Well, if you were a mate, you wouldn't be asking for that discount, or, I don't know. And I could be wrong about that, but I guess that's why I've taken a step back from having a very close friend for so long. Because that relationship, I guess I'm still trying to work out. I've got a new mate that's so weird. He frustrates the crap out of me. But he's a good person. He's thoughtful. Whatever. Like, when we get along, we think about things pretty similarly. He is not a Christian, and he does not believe in it whatsoever. So that's I don't know. But he's a good person, so I'll let it slide. Like, he went to Japan and got me this sick little Toyota Crown because he knows, Toyota Crowns are my favourite car. What a unit. I wouldn't do that for him because I don't think like that. So that's probably pretty cool. I don't really know what else to say on friendships, but certainly coming into my own has helped me, like, understanding myself and what I want and what I want to do in life and how I want to be. Definitely has structured the way I view friendships now. Friendships are partnerships, and you just have to see eye to eye on some level. It doesn't have to be all levels, but on some level. And there needs to be respect both ways. It can't be, for me, in the past, it was take. And I guess the reason why I cut so many people out is because potentially I could never repay them what they did for me. But also, through that change, what I need from a friend has changed. Yeah. Could there be something else that needs to be said about friendships? I think I've covered all that I had to say on it. Again, I'm not exactly too deep about this. Finally, the last part I want to talk about is probably With the efforts that I've made to change what I used to do to what I do now, my goal is to create somebody that my children can look up to. And if I do it well enough, people around me won't look up to me, but they will at least respect that. And I have heard from friends that what I've done is good. So it's not been a negative response from people that understand what I was like and where I'm at now and the things that I've created. Once I figured all of that stuff out, it stopped the struggle of day-to-day life, I guess. I'm not sure if that's made any sense whatsoever, or just the ramblings of an ex-drug addict that is trying to work out what all this is. Going back to Matthew 5:33. Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. When I was in the worst part of my life, I begged and prayed to God that if He helped me, I would sort my life out. And by doing so, I hope to sort the lives of my children out as best as I can and preserve any shred of dignity that I have left. Because what I was like prior to all of this, I find great shame. If we look at it, the disciples must keep their word. That's what this means. And I'm trying to keep my word. And I hope I can do it. Because sometimes I really do feel like I've failed quite a lot. I have to remind myself that I was homeless, sleeping on people's couches, doing drugs, living a wild life. No real strong connections in relationships like I thought I had. I was living a life of sin. To get it back to some form of structure was quite hard. But if I can do it, then you can. And if me talking about this, I'm some random dude that's posting rubbish talks about my life. And whether they make sense or not, maybe if somebody sees this, then they might be able to not do this, but talk to the ones that they love. Or talk to the people in their life about things that might be bothering them. Or they might pick up a Bible. Or they might pick up a self-help book or anything. Or they might just go for a walk and start exercising. I mean, exercise has been a massive part of this as well. Like if I don't work out or go for a run, I'm a pretty crappy person to my wife and my children. I'm short-fused, and I think it's because of... I think that happens from usage, but I don't know. I don't remember being this short-fused my whole life, but I certainly get upset very quickly now. So maybe that's from that. Man, I lose my train of thought too quickly. I forgot where I was heading with that, because I deviate on little tangents. But maybe somebody could see this and do something. That's right. I exercise, and maybe you could exercise. Like it might play a part in your life that changes something, and it's pretty good. In the last episode, I did a prayer. And when I posted it and I rewatched it a couple times, I felt like it was a bit cheesy. So I'm not going to do that from now on. I think my prayers are mine, they're personal. And doing something like that, I meant what I said, but I don't think I need to do it for this. And I don't think I'll do it for the episodes going on. I think this is about a raw chat. Just me talking about things. And whether that's good or not, it doesn't really matter. This is essentially an online journal that I'm trying to work out my own issues. And if somebody else watches it, then yay, thank you. I appreciate the view. I will say I'm probably more active on Instagram, a little less on TikTok. Facebook is basically non-existent. It's a family thing, but whatever. Instagram is Jesse533. You can follow me. I just post my kids and Christian relevant stuff, or stuff that is local to my area, which is the Eyre Peninsula. So it's not that deep if you don't, but it's there. There is links on my YouTube to all of that stuff. Feel free. And if this grows and I continue to do these things, if this connects with somebody, then I'm happy to continue doing it after I've completed this little series that I'm doing. I don't know what's going to come after this, but I hope you stick around, because if you do, that would be awesome. I'll keep posting. What I might do is I'm going to read from the book that started all of this. This is Sarah Young's Jesus Calling. So I'm going to read today's date, which is what, the 16th of November. As you look at the day before you, you see a twisted, complicated path with branches going off in all directions. You wonder how you can possibly find your way through that maze. Then you remember the one who is with you always, holding you by your right hand. You recall my promise to guide you with my counsel, and you begin to relax. As you look again at the path ahead, you notice that a peaceful fog has settled over it, obscuring your view. You can see only a few steps in front of you, so you turn your attention more fully to me and begin to enjoy my presence. The fog is a protection for you, calling you back into the present moment. Although I inhabit all of space and time, you can communicate with me only here and now. Someday the fog will no longer be necessary, for you will have learned to keep your focus on me and your path just ahead of you. And with that, I'm going to end it. I hope to see you at episode 3, which is about marriage. I have touched a little bit on some of the things that I'm going to go over there, and hopefully we can still just keep on track. So thanks for coming.